We're going to start session 1 today with some auto repair world news. We're going to go around the world. And we're going to listen to them and hear what insights we can learn from these leaders in each country. These are some of the best body shops in the world joining us on screen today. They're going to talk to us about what's changed, what's different, what they think is coming next in 2023, and we're also going to talk about what if. What if this happens? What would the effect be? Okay, we're going to learn about some of the mistakes they can help us avoid and some of the advantages that we can bring by doing the same things that they are doing. They're going to share some really top tips with us. So, to help me do this session, it gives me great pleasure to welcome on stage our first speaker. This is Ünal Ünaldı, the chairman of RS Group. So a warm IBIS welcome, please, for Ünal Bey.
I think authorized and unauthorized body shops share this percentage equally, and this uninsured 80% goes to repair shops, prefers repair shops because of they are cheaper. And now in economic crisis in Turkey, you know, now it is the chance for like us, body shop networks. Now we are in the middle, and mostly people use us, prefer us. Mostly insurance company prefers us. Why? Because much networks like us have repair capacity, and they want to decrease their cost and manage these economic inflation problems. We are used to live crisis in Turkey, and we have a good training center. Now we can manage. In 2001, I started this business. There was a big economic crisis also in 2001. I think this is my fourth economic crisis. We are used to.
Okay. So if we're dealing with this crisis, then in summary, what would you want to hear from the speakers? We're about to go to global experts, body shops. What insights would you like to hear from them? What do you think we would like to hear?
Last month I was in Czech Republic. We have also a body shop there. First time in my life I saw inflation in Europe.
Yeah.
And they were discussing about increasing the costs. And I wonder how they manage, because we are used to economic crisis, but I think they are not. And how do they manage their costs? Can they protect their profitability? I should learn this. It should be better.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're all in business for, isn't it? To make a profit. This is ultimately why we have our own business, and we don't all work for somebody else sometimes. So, yeah, all business owners in the room are going to want to learn that today. Should we make a start? And let's hear what they say. So, we're going to go to our first speaker of the day. If we can call him up on screen, please. And we're going to go to Mahmoud Othman. Mahmoud is the National After Sales Manager at Al Nabuda Automobiles in the UAE. One second, we just have some interference. So this is Mahmoud in the center picture at the bottom. Al Nabuda is not only one of the best body shops in the world, but it is one of the biggest. So if anybody has to look after cash flow and manage a crisis, it's one of the biggest site body shops in the world. So just checking, Sperity, are we okay with bringing Mahmoud up? If not, I'll continue with a conversation with Ünal. Okay, I'll continue a conversation with Ünal. You let me know when we're ready, okay? Ünal, okay?
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of questions that I would like to ask you myself.
Yeah.
I was going to save them till later. I'll ask now. So, if all the body shops in Turkey could speak with one voice, what would it say? What is the collective feeling in body shop owners in Turkey, do you think?
We must divide authorized and unauthorized, I think.
Yeah.
In unauthorized body shops, I think standardization.
Yeah.
Why? Because there is no standard in our industry. We can't invest how much money we will make profits, or we can't calculate too much easily because there is no standard. And in our federation, this all body shop federation, we were all discussing this with, I know this, we have a new regulation named SDDK, and we have Turkish Insurance Society, and also we have Loss Adjusters Society. We want to sit in a table and make a standard with them. Why? Because I see in the whole world they are using calculation systems.
Yes.
And they know what will they take before loss adjuster comes. But we don't know.
Okay.
Mostly we go with negotiation, and mostly it's not good for this. For preparing a budget, it's too hard. Then always we must manage our costs.
Yes.
Maybe if we use these calculation systems as a standard, I don't tell that we want too much money. We need the standard. We must know our standard. And for example, I invest too much in my body shop, and I take the same price with a repair shop.
Okay.
It's not equal in Turkey, and we must find a solution for standardization. I think all of them will say the same thing, all body shops.
Okay. Be interested just to get a quick view of the audience here in Turkey, really. When we talk to IBIS communities around the world, generally the things that Ünal Bey was just describing come down to safety, skills, and standards. This is generally what people are looking to improve in their industry, in their country. So we'll have just a very quick show of hands. So if you think safety is more important, if you think this is the biggest challenge we have, let's just put your hand up for me now. Who thinks out of safety, skills, and standards, safety is the most important? Yeah? Okay. So about 20% of the audience, 15, 20%. What about skills, training and developing staff? Who thinks skills are the most important thing we need to cover? Yeah, a few more, maybe 25%. And then Ünal was saying about standards, establishing these industry standards, a new normal of the standard in our industry. Hands for standards. I can see Çağatay, I can see Chris.
I was checked it.
Yeah. almost equal, slightly more on skills, slightly more on standards. But of course, if you raise skills and standards, I guess you'll increase safety anyway. But you need all three things. And the agenda today is around these three areas, safety, skills, and standards, and how we can make this better in Turkey. Because, you know, we can all win, can't we?
We can?
We can all win by doing this.
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah.
I think yes, because I see when you don't have standardization and you can't measure, and when you can't measure, you can manage.
Yeah. There's always an old saying in body shops, and that is, be careful what you measure. Because what you measure gets done. So make sure you're measuring the right things and not the wrong things. So there's the first takeaway for you from the conference today. Verity, I'm just going to check. Are we okay online? Okay, Ünal, they've sorted the connection problem, so we're going to go. Mahmoud, can you hear me, please?
Hi, Robert. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Mahmoud. So we've had a slight change of IT here, Mahmoud. So for all of you, we can see all of you on screen now, not just one. So we'll proceed with Mahmoud first. Like I said, Mahmoud is National After Sales Manager for Al Nabuda in the UAE, one of the best and one of the largest body shops in the world. So these guys know about managing a crisis and looking after a lot of people in the last few years. So, Mahmoud, if the UAE body shops could speak as one voice, what would it be saying? What is the voice of the UAE body shop?
I think at the moment we are all very anxious and anticipating how the market will turn to be. Everybody's just looking to recover from the last 2 years, trying to get back into normality. So I think I've shared this before with other colleagues in the industry as well. The market has not yet recovered. We're trying our best to reach the levels pre-COVID. And let's not forget also that pre-COVID wasn't the best times still. We faced car park shrinking. We faced lack of throughputs. So I think everybody's just waiting to see how this will turn out in the next couple of months, hopefully the next year as well.
So you've obviously been through a lot, though, Mahmoud. What's the biggest strength that you think has helped get you all through this?
I think two main things we have to consider here. First off, having strong management of the organization, being able to keep the company at a steady state, at a stable state, giving assurances to everyone that we will overcome the situation. The other thing is obviously a strong team of dedicated, whether technicians or admin staff, the after-sales departments in general. So having a strong team with the same mindset of overcoming the challenges and this very unusual times that we had to go through, that's what really helped us to pass this very difficult stage.
We talked at IBIS Turkey in 2019, Mahmoud, about this Turkish phrase that says, anyone can take the helm of the ship when the sea is calm. So again, this last couple of years have really tested ourselves and our management skills. You mentioned your team there. Is your team the thing that you're most proud of and have been most proud of, or is it something else?
My team is the main thing that I'm proud of. We've obviously had to go through, different stages of cost reduction and saying goodbye to some of, our colleagues. However, everyone on board has shown resilience, has shown dedication. We've not spared any investment in training our technicians, even during the last couple of years. We've spent on training. We've never stopped anyone from developing themselves. So eventually, developing this strong team was the main pillar, actually, to pass through these difficult times. Yeah.
When you were talking about maintaining training and developing the team in the crisis, I could see Steve from the US and David from the UK both nodding their heads on screen here. So yeah, really good point, Mahmoud. Thank you very much. So if you think about Al Nabuda 2 or 3 years ago, and you compare that to Al Nabuda today, what's the biggest change, do you think? What has changed the most in your business?
I think what has changed is our ability to cope with change. And I think a lot of industries and dealerships and everyone around the world, I think this is the main thing that affected everyone. Everybody now is able to change quickly and adapt to the market condition and situation. Having one of the biggest body shops in the world is not easy, actually, especially with car park shrinkage. The market in the UAE is very different as well. It's an expat-based market, so very transit. People tend to stay for a couple of years and then leave. So this basically is what we have in the UAE as an automotive industry in general. This applies to every one of us.
Ünal, that's interesting. We'll come back and talk about change in a second. Mahmoud, the last question to you, please. So looking ahead, what's the top of your to-do list for next year? What's your number one action that you want to focus on?
We actually are looking to go into more stronger relationships with insurance companies, trying to obviously retain the business and to try and bring back the throughputs that we had pre-COVID and even a couple of years before that. We're going also very aggressive with some marketing activities, trying to promote agency repairs, dealership repairs, trying to make customers understand the importance of having the cars insured with agency repair, not just for the first or second year, but also moving on during the journey of ownership of the car. So that's on top of our list, yeah.
Okay, great. So I guess what we've learned in the last few years from what Mahmoud was saying was the only constant is change. The only constant thing we're seeing in business is a new change. Thank you very much, Mahmoud. That's very kind of you. Thanks for your insights from the UAE. Give my regards to all of our friends there in the IBIS community in the UAE. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for having me.
Before we go to the next speaker, Ünal, Mahmoud made a good point about change and managing change. How do you think, how well do we do that in Turkey? Do we embrace change or do we still resist it? A lot of body shop markets around the world resist it.
No, we are changing, but slowly.
Slowly.
But for RS Group, I can't say slowly.
Sure.
We move too fast. What we change with pandemic period, like you said, customers are used to click something and take the service in their address.
Everything is on demand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now we have two companies just for doing this. One of them is in English a PDRS, Paint the Stent Repair Systems.
Yeah.
We will do Paint the Stent Repair Mobile in Turkey. And we will serve the customer where they need. We will take the service to their address, and they need to use one application for this.
Yes.
And also we developed Auto Comfort named Auto Comfort with my partner Timur. Maybe in the future you will see in the UK. I hope so. After sales, all needs of service, all services we will give there with good partners, qualified partners. In one click, you can take all the services, towing cars, tires, mechanical repairs, body repair, anything you need, we will serve from this application.
Yeah.
If you don't change, you will lose in this new time.
I agree completely. Like Ünal's just made a great point there. Look, the industry is going to change anyway, whether you want it to or not. So we all have a choice, don't we? We can change with the industry and embrace the change, or just get left behind. It's going to change anyway. The customers are demanding it, like Ünal said. On one click, on demand, one-stop shop. These are all the types of services we need to be thinking about in our business. Okay, Ünal, thank you. Let's go down to Australia now. We're going to go to Melbourne in Australia, and we're going to talk to Dominic Mazzeo. Dominic is the operations manager for BA Motors in Melbourne, one of the leading independent body shops, not only in Australia, but in the whole APAC region. Dominic, good morning, welcome.
G'day, Robert. Hello, Paul. How are we?
So you know he's Australian because he started with good day. So we know he's Australian. Dominic, Australia's quite a long way from Istanbul. So can you summarise the trading climate in Australia for us? What are you seeing there today?
Well, right now we've got an oversupply of work, undersupply of parts, undersupply of skilled technicians, and this has created a perfect storm in our industry down in Australia, where the shops are all at capacity. A lot of shops are at capacity, if not over capacity, and it's causing a lot of bottleneck in the system. And I think that it's a synopsis around the world, but particularly Australia, because access to that labour and access to parts is a bit challenging. So I'm sure everyone's experiencing it, but Australia's feeling its fair share right now.
Yeah, I can see David certainly nodding his head for the UK. I know it's a challenge in the UK. Who's experiencing this in Turkey? Body shops here in the audience. Is anyone struggling with capacity? Too much work to provide the experience, or are we under capacity? Little quick hands up. Who's got too much work at the moment? No? A couple of hands gone up? Yeah? And who's under capacity whose volume is still below pre-COVID level? Again, a couple of hands up. So pretty much even split for that Dominic, as a comparison here. So, Dominic, I bet when this crisis first hit Melbourne, that if someone had said to you when you fast forward that this is going to be the situation, it would have seemed unbelievable. So knowing what you know now, if you could travel back in time 3 years, what advice would you give yourself?
I think, yep.
Yes.
So I think what I would have done is a little bit differently is, if I could give myself advice, I would have bolstered the team just to have that skill set level at the right level. Instead of having, 3, 5 structural technicians, have 10 technicians that can do structural work. I think that's where the market's grown the most, in the structural space. And set a bigger parts budget. Although we increased our footprint of parts storage area because it was a lot smaller pre-COVID, I think we did have to close down a section of the body shop to expand the parts area. But I think if we set that in a budget, it would have been helped a lot with cash flow and understanding that management of not having the part right place at right time situation, or the luxury of that anymore. So I think they're the two focus areas I would have looked at, or we would have looked at as a company, if we were to know what was to transpire after over the 3 years that we've just had.
There was a lot of nodding of the head from Steve Bozer there in the US. Steve, you're obviously hearing that message and that's sounding familiar to you. So Dominic, you've obviously made some changes, like you said. Looking back now, what was the biggest risk you took when you made those changes? How did it make you feel at the time? And what was the outcome of doing it or not doing it?
Okay, I think this one is where you look at backing yourself. I think making the decision or a plan and knowing that you've got the right team and the right people around you to carry that plan and execute that to its maximum. Backing yourself and believing in yourself is one of the and believing in what you do as a company in relation to customer service and quality repairs, and that's instilled in the whole team at B&A. And I think that's a big plus for everyone's business. If you've got that belief in yourself, then and you've got your plan and you're able to execute, I think that helps. Also, never be afraid of the future, I think is a motto. We've been working with EV a long time and are involved with a lot of electric vehicle manufacturers. We're also in alternative fuels such as hydrogen for some manufacturers as well. And I think, with the right training and right people around you, you can harness the training and execute the repairability of those vehicles quite easily. So I think embracing those things, self-belief and embracing in what you believe in is a key to success.
I think Dominic makes a great point there. Don't be afraid of the future. Imagine how much easier business would be if we just stopped being afraid. If you stopped being afraid and just did it, we could achieve so much more in our industry, couldn't we? Dominic, it's a great point. Thank you very much for that. That's really good. So, in everything you've described there, in a very quick summary for the end of this conversation, Dominic, are you doing the same sort of things differently now, or are you doing lots of different things? What's been the impact of this on the business?
I think there's been a lot more focus on analysis of scope of work and trying to streamline our processes. I have a little cliche saying which is be proactive rather than reactive. So being on top of it with communication to insurance company, communication to customer, and setting real expectations, not the old body shop of the past where, we'll get it out in 10 days and take 20 or 30 days. Setting realistic expectations and, under-promising and over-delivering, I think. So setting those real guidelines and being there for the client who's had a traumatic event and obviously with everything that's out of your control, just reasoning with that, what is in your control and setting realistic timelines and guiding a client through the whole process.
Yeah, that's great. Another great point from Dominic there. Review, reset, and reposition what you do. Look after the customer needs today, not what they wanted 3 years ago. They want different things. They have different expectations. Review, reset, and reposition what you do. Dominic, thank you very much. Give our love and best wishes to everybody in Melbourne and Australia. Thanks for joining us today. Much appreciated.
No problem.
Ünal, Dominic there talked about making lots of changes, not being afraid of the future, not waiting, just doing. Yeah. What if? What if we don't make any changes and this crisis carries on, it doesn't stop? What if COVID continues, Russia and Ukraine continues, inflation continues? Yeah. Describe that future.
Yeah, we are very used to. Because of this, we are not afraid of this. He said about spare parts. In Turkey, unauthorized body shops can't make profit from spare parts. Insurance companies send the spare parts. We just make profit from repair.
Okay.
And in this COVID and this war period, repair value increased.
Okay.
Now I'm getting richer. No. Repair. No.
Hands up, who's happy for it?
Repair is important. And you said when you go back to 3 years.
Yes.
When I go back to 15 years ago, I should tell myself, you must learn how to repair.
Okay.
Now, everyone in the salon, especially the insurance companies, understood that repair is the best way for saving. Also, not just for insurance companies. In Turkey, second-hand cars, you can't sell a second-hand car with every spare part is changed. You can't sell. It's very hard. If it is repaired, when you say it is repaired but originally, you can sell it.
Okay.
But when you change, you can't. It is also good for customers. It's also good for insurance companies. Also, when insurance company decrease the loss, then they decrease their comprehensive policy prices. Okay. Also, it is good for customers.
Yeah, everybody wins again. Yeah.
For government also, it's good.
It's clear already from this session, one of the key advantages that we have here in Turkey is the familiarity with crisis and managing inflation. We've seen these things before. We're going to talk about that in some of the later sessions. We're going to talk about some innovation, tools, equipment, products and services that can help increase our efficiency and sell more labor better. Before we get to that, though, let's move to our next friend down in South Africa, Charles Canning. Charles is Managing Director of Canning's in Cape Town, South Africa, one of the leading body shops, not only in South Africa, but in the whole of Africa itself. They hold vehicle manufacturer approvals from a range of manufacturers like Audi, McLaren, and many others. Charles, welcome to IBIS Turkey.
Good morning, Robert. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good, my friend. How would you summarize the South African market for the audience here?
I think just to sum it up in a nutshell, it's like being on the front seat of a roller coaster ride at the moment. We're not seeing steady trends. Insurance companies are at 85% of claims rate. Body shops are closing, but the shops that carry the OE approvals are almost back at 100% capacity. And I was listening to my friend in the UAE and then my friend in Australia, and I think, I kind of put South Africa somewhere in between the two. Our barriers of entry to enter this market are very, very low. And we're finding a lot of the informal sector entering the market, and that's a result that this industry is overtraded, and that's why shops are closing. 30% of the vehicles in South Africa are insured, so there's a 70% uninsured market that's flooding into this informal sector. And obviously with global markets, the COVID restrictions and the war in Ukraine. In South Africa, we've had rioting and floods in KwaZulu-Natal. All of these have put tremendous pressures on businesses, particularly in our industry, under tremendous pressure. And we also now face something called load shedding, which is having an adverse effect on our ability to get the work in and then get the work out.
Could you just explain to the audience what load shedding is? They might not be familiar with it here in Istanbul.
So load shedding is the power utility's inability to keep the lights on, basically. So the demand for electricity far outweighs the supply of electricity in South Africa, and it's a structured switching off of your electricity at any particular time in the day based on the schedule or the load shedding schedule that we're on. Now, a lot of body shops that can afford it have been able to find alternative power methods, generators, inverter systems, but inverter systems are exceptionally expensive. So you'll find there'll be a hybrid alternative power supply in a particular shop, but the smaller body shops just can't afford to do that. So when your lights go out for up to 6 hours a day, your business stops. And even the bigger shops that have alternative supply, we're affected by the third-party suppliers that we rely on. Those shops that do wheel alignment, for instance, the ones that do the mag repair, the trim shops. Unless you've got all of that under your own roof, those little businesses, they go down. And, it messes with your scheduling, to get the stuff out the door.
So it's driving real self-sufficiency. Body shops, like the successful ones like yourself, we're driving this self-sufficiency, not having to rely on other people. We're looking to bring these things in-house.
Yeah, definitely, Robert. I think, we look at, particularly at Cannings and the investment that we've made in technology and how we focused on improving repair methods. Diversification, I think, is going to be the key going forward. You're looking at alternative revenue streams and obviously trying to bring everything in-house so that you can complete the repair under one roof.
So again, Charles makes a great point there. Nothing is forever. The only constant is change. So always look at new revenue streams, new models, new customer needs. It's about creating the future need for your customers, not servicing the old need from pre-COVID. Charles, that's great. So like we said earlier, this crisis will pass. So when you look forward, what gives you the most comfort? What gives you confidence in the future? When you look forward 1, 3, 5 years, what gives you the most confidence and what's on your to-do list at Cannings?
So when we built our new facility 3 years ago, my brother is my business partner with a third generation of a family business. And we promised ourselves that we would stay at the front, the cutting edge of technology, repair methods, alternative materials. And our facility has attracted some new high-end approvals, which has seen us through a very tough time. But the investment has been tremendous. We've often wondered if we hadn't made a mistake. And I keep telling James that, only tough times exist, but only tough times don't exist, only tough people do. And I think if you become resilient, and I think over the last 3 years, this entire global market has shown tremendous resilience. to the challenge that it's faced. You've got to, in terms of the confidence and going forward and comfort in 2022, I'd say it's the approvals that we've received. It's tapping into a car park in another market that we haven't had access to before. But at the same time, it's important to remember that you've still got your client to take care of. And I think mobility in South Africa is changing, or mobility around the world is changing. Customer needs are changing, and you've got to be cognizant of that and focus on those areas to stay ahead of the pack so that others will have to follow, you be the leader.
Yeah, I think it's, again, a great point from Charles there, isn't it? You know, it's not about tough times, it's about tough people. It's only a problem if you don't have the solution. If you have the answer, it's not a problem anymore, is it? It's interesting how we talk about it. Okay, Charles, that's really great, really interesting. Thank you so much for your time. Give my regards to all of our colleagues in South Africa. It's been great talking to you. And I'm going to pick up with Ünal and just talk about some of the great points you made there. Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, Robert. Thank you very much.
Ünaldı, what should we do in Turkey? Should we just wait and wish it would just got easier, or should we focus on being better? Should we wish it was easier or wish we were better?
Yeah, I think it will be better, everything in Turkey. Why? Also in this Russian-Ukrainian problem, we are in the middle, and
yes,
the trading is not finished. And government changed the industry with SDDK, the new president and the new management. Also, this Turkish Insurance Society, new management. Also, loss adjusters, new management. I think it's the right time to grow insurance sector in Turkey. Why? Because all of them are very, very, very skilled. And if we can't find the solution in this period, I think we can't find any time else.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm going to leave that there because that's perfect. I couldn't have put that better myself. If we can't find the solution now, we're never going to. All the innovations in business come out of hard times. 99% of innovation comes out of times of crisis. Because when times are good, we just all relax and enjoy it a bit more. All innovation comes out of crisis. This is the time. Ünal, it's a great point. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's carry on round in our world journey, and we're going to cross the US now, and we're going to talk, bottom left there, to Stephen Bozer. Stephen's the owner of Fix Auto Tempe, a thriving independent body shop in Arizona in the United States. Stephen, welcome to IBIS Turkey.
Thank you, Robert. It's an honor to be with you.
So Stephen's business has innovated so much. They are completely outperforming their area and their competitors in what they're doing because they're taking action. So, Stephen, before we get down to your business, let's just talk about the US. Could you summarize the market for me in 3 words? What 3 words do you think best describe what you're seeing there?
Well, if we look back over the last 18 months, I would summarize it with the 3 words: slow, then fast. It's really been a tale of 2 different epics. The 9 months going back into last year, so say from March till the end of the year, was the slowest time we've ever seen, you know, for certainly that I've ever seen. And now this part of the year, so starting from January, it's been the busiest that we've ever had. So it's just been a completely radical change. And so we thought that we would have this sort of gradual climb out of COVID, you know, the slowness that happened with COVID, but it's been really just the opposite. It's come roaring back. I mean, what caused it to slow down was, you know, mandatory closures of businesses, and people weren't driving, therefore they weren't getting into accidents. But now I think this is probably like a lot of the globe is experiencing this. It's all hands on deck. We're as busy as we've ever been.
So like I said, you've made lots of decisions, you've made lots of new innovations in your business. So looking at all of everything you've done, what's the smartest decision that you've made, and why is that? What do you think was the number 1 decision?
The best decision we made, really what came down to the slow period was we really just decided to circle the wagons and focus on our organization, our culture, and our processes, just making sure that we spent our time wisely. So there was a lot of times where we didn't have cars to repair, so we would work on our 5S, cleaning our shop, projects that we were too busy to get to when we were fixing cars, and we'll get to that later. Now we had an opportunity to do that, rewriting our SOPs, and just really building the morale of the team, really focused hard on building the morale and sharing with everybody how badass they were, to use that word, because we were soldiering through a really tough time, and you saw a lot of people on our team continue to shine, and also we saw a few people sort of crumble and fall by the wayside, but that really made us stronger. We found out who our gamers were, who our clutch players were, and really gelled as a team, got our processes and our house in order, and it turned out to be really great because we didn't know this deluge of work was coming, but it has come, and so a lot of that internal work that we did is really paying off now.
So Stephen makes a great point there. We talked about that a few minutes ago, if you remember, about how the leaders don't spend their time, they invest it. When their business slowed down, they went to work, and the leadership in that business invested their time in making these changes that are now giving them the return ahead of their competitors. Really good, great point, Steve. So, lots of changes in the market in the US. How's it adapting to things like EVs and digitized claims and ADAS recalibrations? How's the general market adapting to these changes?
Well, with digitized claims, the shops, we've taken a lot more control in the U.S. market because now insurance adjusters aren't typically coming out to the shop and looking at it, writing the repair plan, and then giving it to us. And then, there was sort of like a psychological implicit game there that this was the document of reference, and that we were altering that. We were working off that as the reference point. And I've always let our team know that no, we write the repair plan, and whatever they write is really more for their own reference. But now we're doing the photographing and presenting our evidence. Basically, we're more kind of like lawyers, basically, presenting, here's the case for why we need to do the repair the way we need to do it. And so with this digital process of submitting photos, OEM repair procedures and things like that, it's given us a lot more control of our repair process. And then with EVs and ADAS, we've been in that space for a long, long time. So going back to 2015, we got Tesla certified, and that's been 85% of our mix pretty much ever since. And so now the rest of the U.S. market is really kind of coming into a similar place, maybe not to that extent, but more so than they were before. And so we're finding that shops are kind of dedicating more space in their shop, and they're creating specialized positions, people that will just do ADAS calibrations, and maybe they have a whole space in their shop where they'll do ADAS calibrations. Techs that are okay, these techs are qualified and will have the EV work come through them for the repairs, or they're even opening up their own separate ADAS calibration centers where it's a separate business, but when it comes time to calibrate the ADAS in that vehicle, they send it over to a separate business, and then they bring it back, and they're sort of catching on both ends.
So again, Stephen makes a couple of great points there. Again, this diversification has come up again there, hasn't it? Creating additional revenue streams, continuing to invest and develop your team. You can see they're doing that as well. And really focused on that future, focused on the destination. What we work out as leaders is how we're going to get there, but the destination we want to get to doesn't change. So I just want to finish our conversation, Steve, with this point about customer service. The US is famous around the world for great customer service. So what has changed in the US around that? Is it that we're providing the experience that they want? Do they want something different? How's customer service been affected by this crisis in the US?
We're doing a lot more contact through platforms like Podium. That's the one that we use, and a lot of other shops are doing this too. And so rather than just maybe a phone call to the customer, which is great, and we do a lot of those too, we have this additional platform that will, we get emails when the customers texted us back. So we see it right away, and several members on the team will see it. It allows several people to communicate with the customer. If somebody knows the answer, they can just chime in and let the customer know what's going on with their vehicle. So we're just in closer contact with our customers, and that's really an area that we shine in, and it's paid great dividends for us. We've really placed a great emphasis, and we always have, on customer communication. You know, our thought is that the customer is gonna either come to us with their questions, or we can beat them to the punch and come to them early with the information and be proactive about it. And so with channels like Podium, it really helps us to do this. And the next one that we're bringing on is going to be a tool called Body Shop Booster, which is both a communication tool as well as a triage tool. The triage component is coming in January. I spoke with Ryan Taylor last week, and so that will help identify the severity. It'll use AI to help identify the severity of the vehicle, so we can start to channel those vehicles properly. What lane do they need to be in? Is it a heavy hit, a medium hit, a light hit? And what does that look like in terms of parts ordering and scheduling?
Okay, great. And that's going to just drive more and more efficiency in your business, isn't it? Stephen, you made some great points there. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really interesting. We're going to continue the conversation, Ünaldı and myself now. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you in the US soon. Thanks, Stephen. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me.
Ünal, thinking about customers, we all need customers.
Yeah.
If a customer is not there, the business is not there. So how is that working in Turkey? You mentioned apps and on-demand earlier. So are we seeing real change in how we look after customers? And who do body shops see as the customer? Is it the car driver, the insurance company, or somebody else? How are we really seeing this customer experience in Turkey?
Yeah, customer experience is always important in Turkey. Maybe more than America, I don't know. But from my father, I don't know in English, but we call it esnaf. It means we care about our customers.
Yeah.
And he took this value from his trainer also. And I will give this training to my sons. It is very, very important. And RS Group always concentrated on this. And most of our new investments is just for 360-degree service. What customer needs, we are concentrated on this. For towing cars, for expertise, for mechanical repair, for demand, for PDF. Now, when I started micro repair, customer first, they were asking me, Mr. Ünal, you will not paint totally, yes? Just locally I want. Now they are saying, I don't want paint. Now I'm running after Kiko, and take the know-how from him just to bring here. Why? Because customer experience changed.
Yeah.
When it changed, also RS Group changed for them.
Okay. I think it's interesting. It might be 360 degree, but the customer has to stay in the middle. Okay, we're going to go to our last speaker just to finish off this session, and that is David Sargent in the UK. Some of you may remember David. He's Managing Director of Gemini Accident Repair Centres, one of the largest independent body shop groups in the UK. David, welcome to Istanbul. Good to see you here again. There's lots of familiar faces for you in the audience that will recognize you from 2019. Welcome back.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's I've learned a few things this morning. It's been really interesting going around the world. So, yeah, very good. Thank you.
So in the UK, David, we talk about a cost of operating crisis. Now, what sort of threats are driving that, and what's the outcome from those threats the market is facing in the UK?
Yeah, well, as all my colleagues have said, you know, we've had a major global challenge. We've all faced very similar things and different aspects of it. I mean, the UK has been very, very flat for a long time with inflation. There's been no rise for a long, long time, been very stable. We've had lots of changes in government, lots of changes happening around the world. Inflation soaring now for us. I know it's nothing compared to Turkey, but running at 10%. So obviously staff retention's a real challenge, but it is for everybody, and to stay still in your pay. You'd be giving everyone a 10% pay rise, which obviously you can't afford to do, but neither can anyone else. So I think it's probably, staff want more money, want to move, but can't really move to anywhere because everyone's in the same position, really. Yeah. So staff is a big area. Energy prices are soaring, gas and electric. Charles in South Africa talking about the power going off. We haven't reached that stage yet, but there is threats of that happening in the winter. So we've got to prepare ourselves for that. And obviously we're running big heavy spray booths, which cost a lot of money to power up and run gas through. So we're looking at a new system of electric spray booths, removing the gas completely to try and counteract that. And a big issue for us is hire cars and courtesy cars. With the semiconductor problem in the world, most of it coming out of Taiwan, obviously new cars are a premium. The second-hand car market has risen dramatically. We can't get new courtesy cars, we can't get new hire cars, so we're having to stay with older cars now for 3-4 years, which we don't want to do, and they're double the price that they were pre-COVID. So there's huge issue there. My solution to that really, or my comment to that is the insurance companies and the work providers should be providing the mobility, not the body shops, which would be a massive help to body shops if we could manoeuvre that across. That's certainly what I'd be looking to do. And the semiconductors, it's getting better, but if China, decide to invade Taiwan, then we're all going to have a problem again because, as I say, 50% of semiconductors are made in Taiwan. Yeah. So it's a global problem.
Like Ünal said, we're just all waiting for the next crisis, right? There'll be another one, and it's coming. So there's lots of challenges you face there, David. What's the biggest lesson these challenges have taught you? The biggest learning that you've had?
Biggest learning, really. I mean, when COVID hit and we had to close the business for a month, the whole business shut. So, that's 31 sites closed, 700 people all going home. It's an extreme situation, one I'd never thought I'd face. 3 or 4 people working from home, talking to each other each day, deciding what to do. What I saw when that happened was unnecessary costs we had in the business. Things like company cars. Every manager had a company car which just sat on their drive, not moving. That we were, the business was bearing the cost of. So things like that I looked at while we were in that position. And when we came back and volume came back a month later, we started to unravel that. So company cars have all gone now in the last year out of the business, and the staff have got a company car allowance, which helps them with tax as well. It's actually better for the business and better for them. And it was a big cost that we removed out of the business. So things like that we learned. We've got a hugely successful apprentice scheme, which we've been running since 2017. Yes. They were delayed actually qualifying because of the COVID year, but all those guys have qualified now. So we've got 70-odd apprentices that are qualified. So to help with the staffing situation, apprentice scheme, I think is absolute no-brainer to do, and you should do. And we've trained them as multi-skilled technicians so they can cover every area of the body shop as well, so not just in a single area. And the other part, you asked the question earlier, Robert, to the audience, do you have too much work or not enough work? I'd ask the question, do you know what is too much work? Because most body shops are hungry and think having a full car park is the answer. And in my experience and my business, we don't have a full car park. We keep it with the customer, keep the car mobile, keep it with the customer, and only bring it in when you've got all the parts and you can start work and finish the work. So you're not starting it, doing half a repair and then unable to finish it. All that's doing is hurting your business. So if you can be strong in that situation, that's what I'd suggest.
It's a great point, isn't it? We're body shops. We repair cars. Our customer wants us to repair their car, not store it for them. They want us to repair it and get it back to them. So again, from what David said there, you can see how immediately this crisis hit, they went straight to work, reduced their costs in the business, and now have got this model. David, when you were on stage in 2019, you made a big point about having this clear understanding of your business model and how this guided you as a business. Is that model still in place today, or has it changed as a result of the crisis? Do you essentially still run the same business model?
Yeah, absolutely. We stuck to our model is very, very simple. Don't like to complicate things. I don't like to measure lots and lots of things. I only measure what is important and what works for the business. And we pretty much put all our eggs in one basket. And we've got only 2 insurer work providers. We don't deal with anybody else. We've got sole supply sites, so we exclusively only repair for a certain insurer in 12 of our sites. I like that model. And I think with COVID, it cemented it even further because the biggest repairer in the UK had over 100 shops collapsed in COVID. And that's a huge lesson for the insurers who'd put work with them and for the rest of the market. And that volume wasn't noticed because there was no volume in that COVID time when it went down. Now it's come back in abundance and insurers are clambering over each other trying to get repairers like ourselves to sign up. And we're refusing to do it. We're sticking to our guns and we stay with our partners who've been loyal to us and we've been loyal to them. And we have just enough work. We are not over capacity. Everyone else in the UK is over capacity massively. We're talking 40 days, 50 days lead time to get your car in for repair.
To even get it to the body shop, 40 or 50 days?
Yeah, to get a car in to start a repair. I mean, we are not in that position, fortunately. Jem and I are in a really strong position. We're still where we were pre-COVID. The volume is back level and we're still doing the same things, turning them over in the same speed and booking them in at the same time because we stuck to our model.
Okay, so summarise it for us then, David. What's your top tip for success? What's your solution for success in 2023 to help them grow?
Well, certainly know when you've got the right amount of work. Definitely have the right amount of work. Remove any unnecessary costs in the business that you possibly can. Have a standard process, keeping the culture and the brand at the forefront of your mind, investing in technology, whether that's digital investment to help the front end of the business or practical investment on the workshop floor, and youth, bringing more youthful people in. Young people in the industry are far more technical than we are. And we're all entrepreneurs, who doesn't love a great crisis? Every recession we've ever had, we've come out on top. So we've got to keep believing in yourself. But don't be an average body shop. Don't be a good body shop. Be the absolute best you can be in your industry.
Well, that's a great way to finish the conversation, David. Thank you very much for joining us today. Mercedes-Benz have the marketing phrase, the best or nothing, and we can all adopt that for our business. That's not exclusive to them. We can all adopt that philosophy. Thanks very much for joining us, David. Great to see you back at IBIS Turkey.
Welcome.
Hopefully we'll see you again.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So thanks to all of our speakers. Thank you for joining us. Ünal, I'd just like to summarize before we close for coffee. You heard about the insights, the expertise, the experience. Having listened to all of our speakers from around the world, what do you think is the biggest barrier we need to overcome to achieve these same things in Turkey?
Yeah, biggest problem, same is with UK, I think. In 5 years, we can't find technicians to fix the cars.
Yeah.
And it will be the biggest problem, I think. And because of this, we invested MedTechnic just for this, just train new technicians. My partner, Mr. Edip Ketuli, in 2007, I had also taken his training. He trained me in 2007 body repair with İzzet Hoca. And now becoming their partner is very nice for me. And I want to teach new technicians, not just for Turkey, all over the world. We want to grow RS Global, and we will train master technicians for our master franchises. Now they are here, there's India, Iraq, Palestine.
Okay. So people are at the center. It's really about people. And I guess that's true, isn't it? You know, without people in our business is just a collection of objects. It has no heart. It has no soul. It has no personality without people. So let's all go away and think about how we can make our people better, and then they will make our business better for us.